This is Viewpoint, the program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. And we might have certainly 2 out of the 3. That's batting 67%. That's not bad, is it?
66 2/3, right on.
66, right on. Yeah. Well, we're going to get into introducing this great lady in just a few minutes here. Judith K., how are you surviving the great blizzard?
It's really very pretty. I like it better though when the sun.
That's your viewpoint.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm a member of a minority here. I don't hear a lot of people saying, "My, it's pretty," but it's kind of reminding me of one of our trips from northern Minnesota down to the cities when my folks were in assisted living. And we were going down for a meeting about my dad, so we felt we really must make the trip. There was a raging blizzard, not unlike we had last week. And all along the way, since my little sister-in-law was doing the driving and I was just sitting there riding, I kept saying, "Oh, it's so beautiful. Look at the trees. Oh, they're just laden with snow. It is so gorgeous." Poor Sherry's sitting there with white knuckles, and finally she said to me, with her teeth clenched, she said, "Shut up, Mary Sunshine." She'd heard all the beauty she needed.
Well, I saw the other day in the Tribune on the internet, of course, they were comparing the snows with the great snows we've had in Chicago. And in '67, I was trapped in Chicago in that snow. I'd gone up for a meeting, and at night went to bed and closed the blackout curtains and got up the next morning, took a shower, and checked out. And I got to the front door. And I said, "What's going on here?" And I made a 180 and came back, and I said, "Young lady, why would you let me check out? Where do you think I'm going to go?" Well, she says, "I wondered what you were going to do."
Yeah, no, I bet she didn't bring it up.
I said, "I can't even see my car." So that was a fact, literal fact. And I said, "May I please have my room back?" And 3 days later, I got home.
Is that right?
Yeah, and Ted Allison came over and kept we were in the house that had a fireplace, and Ted came over and kept the fire going for Gene and the 2 infants at home.
Oh, dear.
Well, the great '67 snowstorm is deeply embedded in my mind.
If Judge Stringer comes back, maybe he'll write up that one.
Yeah, right.
Just like he did the 18, what was it, one? That was so
I wasn't there.
Awful. There was...
Notwithstanding what some people think, I was not there.
I was living here, but I was on vacation at the time.
Kudos.
Our poor guest is getting nervous about the little noise over there.
I'm watching this
Jim's cat house
come out of that vent.
I know. It's you see, it's just commonplace for us, but for guests, it's always kind of like, what in the name of
You never know
thunder?
what's going on at Jim's cat house, I can tell you that.
I'm kidding.
Say
That was pretty good.
a couple of kudos. One I'd like to mention is last night I went to the Montessori School open house, and it's so much fun to watch those little youngsters in that Montessori school system Mrs. Vickers runs. It's just amazing to see the depth of their being so comfortable in their environment and showing us what they do, and they're just so composed and so bright. What a great start that is for youngsters who can get that kind of help. It's a heck of an investment in their future, I'll tell you that. It's really. And I think you have a little kudo that you'd like to mention too.
Yeah, I do. I've just become terribly fond of Dr. Kristen Green Morrow. She, of course, works at the hospital too, and she is currently in Thailand for a 9-day tour, and they go up into the mountains, and this is all on their own nickel, you know. This isn't a vacation.
Remarkable.
And they go up into the mountains to treat people who just have no opportunity to get to a doctor. And bless her heart, you know, that's really, 'tis a noble things she does.
That's real dedication.
And she's just a really fine gal. I'm terribly fond of her. And this isn't surprising to me. She's the kind of person who'd do
Exactly.
this, give of herself.
And speaking of fine people, of whom we're very fond, I'm going to let you introduce the best county clerk in 102 counties.
You want to believe it. Sally Litterly. It's awfully good to see you. It's been a while. Sally, of course, is our Logan County clerk. I have her phone number, 24148, is in my Rolodex that I have in my head. I don't know why I've got that one in there.
Imagine that, Judy.
Yeah. So I could just call you night and day.
Well, if I'd be there to answer at night.
Well, I can get you a
After
Charlie
8 o'clock
McCarthy
at night would
machine.
not be appreciated. Yeah.
Anyway, Sally has all kinds of new things, once again, to deal with from her office. And for those who might not be terribly well acquainted with your office, tell us what your charge is, the Reader's Digest version.
Sure.
Yeah, what do you do?
you're
You sit up there and read the
responsible
Wall
for.
Street Journal all day, or what do you do here?
We can't afford the Wall Street Journal, our office.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that
Run,
was a
Afford
good
the
one.
Courier,
run a
but
frugal office. Good for you.
Yeah.
But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, the office of the county clerk and recorder, if you're a county less than 60,000, you're also the clerk and the recorder.
Oh, it's two offices
That's
in
correct.
the big counties. I didn't know that.
I do know that in some counties they have enjoined that together because of financial reasons, but in Logan County, it's county clerk and recorder. The recorder, of course, is the part that records anything that has to do with real estate, transfers, deeds, things of that nature. So whenever you buy or sell a piece of property or get a mortgage or want to file something in recording, that goes through the recorder's office. Deeds, plats, DD-214s for veterans, things of that nature. We also do vital statistics. We are not the registrar, but we hold vital statistics. We do all the marriage licenses in Logan County. We do deaths, births, and marriage certificates if you want to get a copy of those. Those are all housed in our office. In addition to that, we have elections, which I think we're most known for. When you think of the county clerk's office, you think of elections. So since 1984, we've run all the elections. It used to be that schools did their own and parks did their own and libraries did their own, but they enjoined that so the county clerk would run the election. They're not the election official for those entities. Those entities file with our office, and then we run their election for them. And then, of course, we do tax extension, which is a large part of our office that people don't really know, I guess, that we do. That's when a taxing body, such as a school district, says, we need X amount of dollars in order to run our school district from tax dollars. And what we do is figure out how much the rate will be. So we take the...
For their district.
So that we take their levy, that's what the amount of money they're asking for, and divide that by the assessed valuation and come up with a rate. And that rate then in turn figures out how you're taxed.
Now, in your county, that being Logan, is there a wide discrepancy at all between school districts from one end to the other of the county?
As in the amount of money they ask for? Absolutely, yes.
Now, I don't mean by the size of their district, but rather on a per student type basis.
Well, I guess I don't know to put it in the terms of per student basis, because I think that would enjoin all the other things like the state and where the other finances are coming from in order to make them whole. But from a levy standpoint, there's some that are levying, it's $5 and per 100. So you have to pass a referendum in order to get that done, to increase maybe your education rate.
And you can increase only so many times and so far up. What's the cap on that?
Some of them have no cap per se, because of the fact that there is, since you're a local entity and you have people that want to vote for increases, that's your out. That's your, or you're in. If you want to increase your referendum, you can increase it by voting that in. That's the key.
hard to pass those because it's just one of the very,
Sure.
very few things you can say, yes, I'd like to give you more money.
Yeah.
Or, no, I don't think I would like to give you
Well,
more
and one of
money.
the other things, of course, is that Logan County is a tax-capped county. And not all our districts are tax-capped if they overlap with another district, if they overlap with another county that's within their district, such as if they overlap into McLean County. If McLean County has no tax cap, then that district isn't capped if they didn't have the referendum to do tax caps. But if you are a tax cap district, such as District 27 in Lincoln,
Yeah.
a tax cap district, they can only go the CPI, Consumer Price Index, every year.
Mhm.
And next year's CPI is 1.2, I believe. This year is 1.4. The year before that was 1/10%.
Oh, my.
So even though I guess when we look at the CPI, we think, oh, things are really bad or things are really good, that's a Illinois-wide CPI. It's not necessarily just for our community. It's even though prices go up, our insurance policies go up, things like that, we only can go a certain amount of money.
It seems that with school financing, so many times we hear that it's the decisions on the payments are made poorly, insofar as, for instance, in Chicago, they blame in some neighborhoods that they don't have enough money per student, and more money. I think sometimes that our answer to most problems is we'll throw more money at it. And it's not always the answer. Also, they used to say that I hate when people say that, but
It's they.
the anonymous they
Yeah.
used to say that the rural districts were better off than the districts in town. For instance, in Logan County, in Lincoln, that they made out better tax-wise at, say, Chester East or West Lincoln Broadwell than they did in 27 because they had the farm ground tax. Now, was that ever true? Is it true?
Well, I guess Judy, the way you have to look at that is it's the assessed valuation, the value of where it is that you are in order to get taxes on it. I don't necessarily think that indeed is true. I guess the way I look at it is if I live in a community and it is really growing and we have all these new things that are coming in and our value is greater, that means I pay less in taxes.
Of course.
So that's a plus. And I can ask for more as a school district if my value is greater because I have more to grab out there.
Speaking of such matters, mundane matters as money, how's your budget going to work out in our various county offices? Now, each and every office is impacted, and how is that relating to the county clerk's office, Mrs. Litterly?
Well, it's tough. I mean, it's been tough the last 3-5 years. We took a 5% cut the year before that and another 3 before that. So now we're at 13 this year. We just do the best we can. We try and cut back as much as we can, run off copy paper on both sides, and you just do everything that you possibly can. It's just like at home. You have difficulties at home. There's different things you have to cut out that aren't as necessary as other things, and that's how we have to treat it.
But to run a professional office, as you certainly do up there, it takes X number of people to give the citizens of the community the service that they are entitled to.
Sure.
Or to which they're entitled. I got to get the dangling preposition out of the way. I'm sorry.
I hate
about
those
that.
dangling prepositions. Just hate
Well,
it.
I
But
guess
seriously,
a big thing with our office is the services that we do provide. If we didn't have people there to be able to provide those, if I was there all by myself, I couldn't record the 100 transactions of deeds or things of that nature that came in that day, plus do 10 marriage licenses and extend some taxes and do tax redemption all by myself. So if indeed we didn't have the people in there working to do those services wouldn't get done.
And people...
Simple as that. We would not get the services to which we're entitled.
Absolutely.
You said that
Or
people
think
think
we're
of your
entitled.
office as managing all the elections, and this is most certainly true. However, you don't just sit and wait for the next election at all. And I think it's well that you let people know the myriad things that are going on in there. I did have a chance once to see some of the books that were so old and had the transactions in them written in this beautiful script that people used to use. Do you ever want to just go in there and just look at them? Because that's how it was way back when the county was first a county.
Yeah, there's one book, it's a birth book, and it's really old, and in the birth book
That's
it
the one
says,
I'm in.
yeah, this could be you, where it says where the person was born and to whom, and in that statement it said gypsy baby born to this person and this person, and where the place was by the side of the creek, and I forgot which creek it was. And I just thought, wow, that's really an
But still the
interesting
birth
statement.
was registered.
Uh-huh.
Now that's interesting. Because
Yeah,
you'd think that they would have overlooked that if they were out watching the murmuring creek go by and having a baby.
Well, they're looking ahead to Social Security, that's all.
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Sally, it used to be that your office issued passport applications. Is that still the
Actually,
case?
no, it's the
You
circuit
still do.
clerk's office.
It's post office?
Circuit clerk.
Oh, it's a circuit clerk. Thank you very much. Now, is that done or the post office or both?
It's still circuit clerk's office.
It is still here in this county.
Yes.
I believe somewhere they use the post office.
Yes, they do. In Springfield, I believe they do post office.
Now,
So-
how can they decide?
I'm not sure. I would imagine that there's some kind of federal requirement where someone applies and they say that the local circuit clerk would like to do it, because they probably get a fee for it. But that'd be a question for Mary Kelly, your circuit clerk.
Yes.
So
648-5510. Somebody might have a question of our county clerk, Sally Litterly. It's not all just grim business up there. Once in a while, something of a little facetious nature arises. And Sally was talking to us earlier about a call she had about a marriage license. I'd like for you to kind of recount that just briefly. Whether names, of course, would not surface because there were no names surfaced in our conversation. But I thought it was somewhat, well, I thought it was more than somewhat funny. Go right ahead. Can you recount that story for us?
is this the story about the gentleman that called and didn't like his marriage license?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
In retrospect, he didn't like it.
yeah, I had a gentleman that called, and he said he'd gotten a marriage license in our office. Now, our marriage licenses are perforated forms. The top half is a ceremonial piece of paper that basically says these two were joined together in marriage, and whomever joined them together signs the marriage license, and you can hang that on your wall, and it's a nice little document. And it means nothing except for the fact that it's yours, and that shows you at home that you were married. The bottom half of the form is actually the document. It's the document that if you need to change your Social Security number or anything like that, that's a certified document that becomes a record in our office. So it's a two-part form. So the gentleman called and said that he got married a year ago, and he got his license in Logan County, and he doesn't like his license, his certificate, meaning the one that's on the wall. And I said, well, okay,
Yeah.
What is it that you don't like about it? Well, he didn't like the fact that it said there's a small portion on that top part of that certificate that is a picture of a Bible. And underneath the Bible, I believe it's the verse from Corinthians in the love chapter. It's just a very short piece on that. It doesn't say, I don't even think it says 1 Corinthians 14. I don't believe. I just can't remember off the top of my head. But he said he doesn't like it, and he doesn't want it. So, okay.
A year later.
Yeah. So I said, you got this a year ago? Uh-huh. And I said, you used it? And he said, yes. And I said, you got your marriage license, you used your marriage license, you're married already, there's nothing I can do about it. And he said, well, you should have offered me one that did not have that on it when I was there. All right. There's still no remedy for your marriage license. And, of course, then I said, well, I guess you can white it out. I don't know what else to tell you right now. But I guess then that, in retrospect, I thought back that perhaps when anybody comes in and asks for a marriage license, we can ask them, do you want the ceremonial copy that's on the top? And if they look at it and they don't like the lovely hands joining together and near a Bible, then I guess they won't take it. So, yeah, that was interesting.
Well,
we keep a little book in our office of all the interesting things that happened. One time now listen to me now. One time I had somebody call, and I unfortunately answered the phone, and they said, how do I get this diaper out of my toilet? And I said, I'm sorry, what? I have a clog, my toilet is clogged, we got a diaper stuck down there. Oh, how do I get it out of there? I said, well, sir, this is the office of the county clerk and recorder. Well, okay, well, how do I get it out of there? I said, I guess you just need to call the plumber. I guess this person probably was thinking, I have a sewage problem and I'm looking for whoever the sewage master is or whatever. Anyway, we have lots of interest.
You must have a full dossier on things like that in the time of your career.
Debbie, one of my
how long have you been
staff
serving
keeps a lovely book, and she writes these things in it, and we just get a big kick out of them.
Oh, but that's so funny. I'd like to read that book.
Yeah. Well, you ask Debbie sometime. She's, the election
She's
person.
a good scout.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You'll have to ask her.
Tell me, how long have you been serving the citizens of Logan County?
Well, this is my 5th term. So, I just finished my 17th, or starting in my 17th year.
Well, it inures to our benefit that we don't have term limits in that office, because we've been getting excellent service up there, and I think that the voters and the citizens of the community ought to understand that these folks have a lot to do up there, day in and day out.
Oh my gosh.
Not much time for coffee breaks or potty breaks, for that matter.
No.
It's a busy office.
Yeah, absolutely. And in regard to that busy office, we have an election coming up on April 5th.
Well, now, maybe you should just give us a thumbnail sketch of the voting dates for the myriad sorts of votings that we have anymore. You used to just go to the polls or vote absentee, one side or a leg off.
I did bring my cheat sheet for that.
Good.
Yeah.
You brought a Bible on that.
Yeah, well, there's many different things that we have to pay attention to. One of the things is absentee voting will start February 24th or 25th, dependent upon when we get the approval that our ballot is complete.
May I ask, interject a question in there? Is that increasing in frequency, absentee voting? Are you seeing increases in that?
Absolutely. Last election, we were inundated with absentee.
Interesting.
I have no problem with that, and I'm glad people are absentee. But one thing that did, which you may have received in the mail, you may have got something from one of the political parties with a little absentee application. I don't know if you did yourselves, but I know my daughter did. They probably were gearing towards certain ages or something. But then you just send that card in, and then we would issue an absentee ballot after you sign that card. Of course, every time we sent one of those back out, it cost us money, as opposed to what it would be if an individual just came in to vote on election day. So we saw an increase in our postage budget. Here comes that cat again up Okay, I'm going to scoot over this way. Got ghost cats.
That's the entertainment we have for you.
It's pretty cool. Hi. I have a cat at home, so I like kitties. Anyway, we did see an increase in that.
I interrupted you, and I'm sorry, but I wondered if there wasn't an increase in that, and you say that there certainly have been significant, and that increases your cost.
Absolutely.
How about this business of registering at the Driver's License Bureau?
Sure.
Is that popular?
Yes, actually it is, Judy. That's a good question. It used to be, years ago, when Motor Voter first started, that when you registered at the driver's license facility, it was only for federal elections. It was the only thing that you could vote for. Now, when you register at the driver's license facility, you're registered for all elections. So there's a big difference now. So it is very popular. When people marry and change their names, they go and get a new driver's license, and that driver's license facility must ask, would you like to register to vote? And they have to ask that. There's a form that's called a declination form. If someone, when they go in and get services at the driver's license facility, and they say they do not want to register to vote, there's an X. It says voter or person declined or customer declined. If on election day that person would come in and to the polling place to vote at your polling place, Judy, and they said, well, I registered at the driver's license facility, and we don't have them in the book, we don't have them in our system, I have a number that I call a hotline at the Secretary of State's office, and they can produce the declaration form that shows on there that that person declined to register to vote.
Aha.
Interesting.
Yeah. And those are called, that's usually when we have a person vote provisional.
Yes. Oh, my gracious. There are so many different kinds of things. I can't believe it. And nothing's free, you know.
Right.
There's no free lunch. And I can't imagine what it must cost you to run an election for all the paperwork that has to be produced on the off chance that you'll need it.
Right. The worst elections for waste, if you will, are the primaries. Because you don't know how a voter's going to vote. You don't know if they're going to vote Republican. You don't know if they're going to vote Green. You don't know if they're going to vote Democrat. You don't know. Because they could change. That's when they have the opportunity to change. So we have to produce enough ballots to take to your polling place on that election day for anybody to pick any sort of what they want. We don't know what they want. So let's say if we look and say generally Judy's precinct votes Democratic. And there's 100 voters. So we'll get 100 Democratic ballots. But what if they changed their mind and they liked what the Republicans had to say? We better have 100 Republican ballots there too. Oh yeah, and the Green Party's out talking. So it's very, very difficult to know how many to order. The law says you have to order 110% of the ballots of each party.
Oh boy. Yeah,
that's what the law says. However, now we have what's called ballot on demand, which is a system that I can load onto my computer, and I can print them on. I have a large printer in my office, and I can print some of those to help us get by if we don't have enough that we ordered from our printer.
And the sad part of it is we only get 20% of the electorate turn out to use those
good point.
ballots.
You're right.
You know, I mean, seriously, that's an old soapbox of mine.
You know, and coming back to that election on April 5th, I can't stress how important that election is. And that is an election that, you're right, gets 20% of the turnout. But that election is probably the largest election that has anything to do with your real estate tax. Because those people that are being elected in that election are the people that run your schools. Those are the people that run your park districts, people that run your library districts. All those are a part, if you look at your tax bill, you'll see all those are part of your tax bill.
That's right.
And it is very, very important. Local elections are very important. I would encourage everyone to vote on April 5th. The other thing about the election, that the last day that we can send out an absentee application is March 31st. But someone can come into our office and vote all the way up to the day before the election. But let me preface all that with, again, it's not time to vote yet, so don't come into our office.
Not yet. Not yet.
We don't have any ballots yet.
Now, I've always been of a mind that you are, in fact, a registered voter. And you hear so many people say, I'm a registered Republican, I'm a registered Democrat. In fact, you're not.
You're right. In some states, it is like that.
Yeah. But that's the difference between an open and a closed primary, isn't it?
Yes. That's a big part of it. In Illinois, we're not. It's a closed primary. So, but you are not registered as a Republican or a Democrat. But it shows on your registration how you voted in the last election. And so what that does is, if someone asks you to sign a partisan petition when they're running for a partisan office, like if I were running for county clerk and I was a Republican, I must get people that voted in the last primary that voted Republican.
to sign yours.
Right, and that is a difference.
Do you foresee a time at all when it would be an open primary? There used to be some people who lived in the same precinct I'm in, and they were so funny. They'd come every election and order a Democratic ballot. Just no, I'm sorry, a nonpartisan ballot. And I said, well, we don't have, it's just a repeat. It was just deja vu all over again. I said, we don't have that. You can order a Republican or a Democrat one. No, they wanted the whole thing. And they didn't agree with this system. Well, the system is what the system is, as a matter of fact. Like Bill always says, it be what it be. Do you foresee a time when that will change, ever?
No. And I guess there's just different reasons why. One reason I do feel it's part of our right, if you will. It feels like I should be able to vote for whomever I want to, whether it be Republican or Democrat. But that is a way for partisan politics to really kick in, because you can knock out the best Democratic candidate by getting all the Republican people to vote for somebody else that's the Democrat. And so therefore they'll be easily beat in the general.
And speaking of voting, I'm going to exercise my right to vote in favor of our sponsors right now. Mr. Rice, we're busy at the council, and away we go.